message, topic, medium, and context, she adds to it a seventh factor, the executor. She uses curse as short for a curse formula, which is quote, a verbal written conditional description of an act displeasing to the sender of the formula, God or king, and to society in general. An act being performed by the receiver of the formula, either God or king, as a first party, and aimed at the sender. The sender is a second party, and his or her self-interests in life upon earth and in the beyond. Furthermore, it describes the consequences of this act which may befall the actor, i.e. the receiver of the formula, and his or her self-interest in life upon earth and in the beyond, through the agency of an executor. End quote. The formula in general explains the conditions of the receiver. A. Rowley, in an early account, defines cursing as a wish expressed in words calling upon evil to befall the cursed person. This wish is expressed by a god or spirit in which the wish combines fiat, will, and fact. On cursed nature, it appears to be in contrast with blessing, for example, as an utterance of attitude and social behavior. But when the curse is an utterance in the name of a supernatural power or supernatural force, the notion moves from the merely behavitive notion, it's an expression used by Jane Austen, to a more complicated one. More conditional, performative utterance, it is a statement that it is not falsible. However, it has an authoritative that is not related to performance. I'm enough to say something about curse. Well, this is an example of the Nabataean tombs of Madain Salih. We move now to the curse types. In an attempt to analyze the Hegra inscriptions to find the different patterns the curse sentence has taken, I was able to distinguish 5 types. You can see, oh, it's a bit small. We can distinguish 5 types, which could also be broken to smaller units or integrated in larger units in a more detailed study. I give here the model, its description, and the examples. The essence of these sentences, in general, is to have a conditional prohibition sentence, which will be supported as a punishment either by a curse or a fine. The first example, or the first type, is the simplest form, where when the curse is denoted with the verb la'ana, followed by the cursors, then the prohibition. It occurs in 2 examples, just as 8 and 2. These 2 inscriptions are of the earliest dated to 1 BC, 1 AD, or AD 85. The second type is a more complex sentence. Here the curse la'ana is followed by the cursors, then the prohibition, and conditional penalty of fines to be paid to king or priest or god or both. This form appears also in two early examples. I'll not go through all these types. You can have a good site. You can follow that. The fifth type is which includes the prohibitions, conditional punishment, which occurs for the first time in the form of payment of double the whole tomb's price, together with the spiritual punishment cursing. We find in general of these types that curse sentences did not follow a standard formula, and that the gender or origin of the owner were not significant. The owners chose what was convenient to their needs. The female tombs and curses, although we do not have a large number of texts for comparison, we can still trace some interesting trends regarding Hegra beliefs. Among the Nabataean funerary inscriptions, we have 2 female tombs out of the 7 tombs which impose curses on intruders. They are the tombs of Kamkam and Bashur. Both tombs are exceptional in many ways, bearing in mind that one of the female cursors has a particular case, which will be discussed below. The second one is an outsider, a Tayanite. In the tomb of Kamkam, the was invoked on the breaker of prohibitions related to tomb and to burial. Means it has a curse against who sells the tomb and buys it, etc., and also against who removes it, the body or a limb from the tomb. Her inscription seems to represent a transitional period from a pre-Nabataean to Nabataean rule. For hers is the earliest inscription, dated to 1 BC, and it carries elements that support this probability, such as the deity she refers to and the priest to whom she ordains her finds. At the same time, it belongs to the Nabataean era since it is dated after the Nabataean ruler and it uses Nabataean script language together with the Nabataean currency. The gender of the owner and her genealogy raises and still raises many questions about Arab social structure in relation to women. She calls herself Kamkam, daughter of Wa'ila, daughter of Harun. This is a matrilineal genealogy to the third generation, which was taken by some scholars as an evidence of a matriarchal society. However, many scholars, or the majority, support a matrilineal system in Arabia in certain times in history. I'll not go through a lot of discussion about this inscription. Go to the second tomb of Ashur. The second female tomb belongs to Ashur, daughter of Bajra, the Taymanite. In this tomb, the curse is against anyone who brings her out of her burial niche forever, with some details. Then the curse is strengthened by making Dushara and all the gods bear witness to this. These two female tombs share the feature of carefulness to insert all details necessary to protect their tombs, by all means spiritual and material, by invoking the curse of all gods whom they believe in, or even the gods of the sovereign. In addition, they were keen to impose fines for gods and kings and priests, all to protect the tomb and burial, avoiding that either the tomb should be subject to commercial transactions of selling or buying, etc., or the burial should be removed or disturbed. The male tombs and curses, we have five male tombs with curses dating from 180 or 81 to AD 26. Each tomb should be discussed below, but I will not do that. I'll move to conclusions. In conclusion, we find that the curses were found mainly in earlier inscriptions, not after the 4th decade of the 1st century. This covers the time of Hegra, and may indicate a more religious society, followed by a retreat in religiosity, which gave way to fines as a form of protection for the tombs. In the Nabataean period, we find that a combination of spiritual and material punishment, i.e. curse and fine, was imposed on the offenders to guarantee a practical protection for the tombs. This combination was, it seems, more effective and an Nabataean characteristic. This is significant in showing an elaborate social and legal system to protect private property. However, the Nabataeans extended their dependence on fines only in the later period. Generally speaking, comparing in proportion the number of tombs shows that both sexes fell to cursing equally. However, fining was more common among women. The main god to whom curses were attributed to is Dushara, the state deity, god of our Lord. Secondly is Manutu, then other minor or local deities. It is noted also that most of the tomb's owners who use cursing are either non-Hegrans, like the Taymanites, male and female, or have a certain status, like Kamkam of the matrilineal genealogy, or like Kahlan, the doctor whom I have discussed. To summarize, I would say that the curse had an important function. The aim is to have proper protection for their afterlife houses, the ti'alma, based on the beliefs of the society, which respects or fears the supernatural powers invoked in curses among the Semites of ancient West Asia since antiquity, which continues in the Nabataean period. However, this method seemed not to last, at least during the later Nabataean period, with the same power and effect. I have not answered the question about major social change in the second half of the 1st century AD in Hegra Madain Salih, so that curses become irrelevant? Secondly, is there any link between the decrease of using curses and the increase of military presence in Hegra Madain Salih since the last years of Haritha's reign? Thirdly, were there any new religious or anti-religious currents in that period? Fourthly, were curses in fashion at Haritha's period because of a certain attitude, behavior, trend, or policy that was prevailing at this period? I have no answer yet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your clear and convincing lecture. Perhaps someone of the audience has an answer to the questions at the end. So, Dr.
A small remark, not to your paper, but probably mostly for a previous paper. It seems to me very difficult in such context, haram, nabatu, veshalamu, to interpret nabatu as a term that designated a social category of people. Yes. But thank you very much for your very interesting.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
In the early Arabic inscriptions, it's quite noticeable that formulae are first used by caliph, and then after a couple of decades they start to be used lower down the social scale. Could that be an explanation for any change in formulae for the Nabataean? Are the curses first used by kings and rulers? Or, I don't know, just a suggestion.
Well, during the Nabataean, well, there were kings and rulers in the whole. I mean, the Nabataean stayed until the 2nd century AD. You see, it's not. There wasn't a cut in the political situation. Yeah, there was a continuation. It's just that at the end of Haritha's reign, he died in AD 40. Okay, so by that time, we stopped to find any curse inscriptions, and this is what really made me to question this change, and it made me expect that there was a certain change of situation.
Do you have an explanation why the Arabic word la'na is used? Is it because one usually curses in one's own native language and not in a foreign language? I mean, one can realize this even today. Yes? If someone curses, he uses their own language. Might this be the reason? I mean, one could use Aramaic word as well.
That's right. I mean, using the word la'na also attracted my attention because it wasn't the norm in other inscriptions in West Asia, where normally the sentence, the structure of the sentence as a conditional structure will imply the curse, so that if somebody do so, he will be doomed to by so and so, like he will be cut off offspring, etc. But the Nabataean inscriptions, they use the word curse, la'na, but they don't use any punishments, any physical punishments, or they don't. It's as if the word la'na is implicitly mean all these meanings. They don't need to expand in explaining what all the consequences of a breach of a certain rule or a certain prohibition. But why they are using it is that I think I think in a way that they found that the verb la'na is enough to mean all what they is more like gathering all what they would like to express.
So this also belongs to the open questions.
Yeah.
Is there
I think that generally the language for cursing would be, of course, native language is natural, but there are very often that an important sociologically or sociolinguistically important language is used for this. For example, Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, they use Russian curses, though they have nothing to do with Russian. And by the way, Russian curses are used throughout the former Soviet Union, whatever language is there. So, this can also be the case, something like this.
Yeah. For the usage, la'ana, I mean, it is the perfect form, but it's the Arabic usage. So it's something different. I mean, it is the parallel to the Aramaic. So it's conditional. And, you know, if somebody touched, I mean, the grave, so he will be punished with that. But, I mean, again, does it work? We have it in Quran for, I think, more than 150 times or something like that. So it does work, I think. It is, you know, it is holy here. And another remark, what I want to say is that la'na is a legal term. So I think, you know from the Arabic poetry, a sha'ir al-la'in, somebody if he is dismissed from the society, from the tribe, you know, so he has nothing. So to expel somebody from the tribe, so it is, you know, his life will be destroyed. So I think this is the basic meaning for la'na also in the Nabataean inscriptions.
I agree totally with you, but I would like to add to it that that the Nabataeans, it seemed that their inscriptions were very specific, very precise. They wouldn't add more information that with the word la'na or the verb la'na would imply. So it will only using la'na would mean that they are expelled and they are so and so, and there is no need to go into a long detailed explanation.
Yeah, thank you again for your questions.
It would be, it's easier because you cannot park easily at the front, but you can park easily at the back.
Ja, ich hoffe, es könnte sich also, kommt das im Sommer raus, diese Republik. Ich hoffe, das ist wirklich eine, und die kommen also ständig.
شايفة؟